Hey guys, today I'm going to give you a crash course in using cymbal mallets. I'm going to show you the techniques that you need to know to get started on using them. So for those of you who have ever used a gong before, you should know that using a cymbal mallet is a lot like using a mallet on a gong. In fact, gongs and cymbals are very similar instruments. So what does that mean? Well, when you use a drumstick and you hit the cymbal opens up completely almost right away, which is to say that its volume peaks almost immediately. But when you're using a mallet, it's a lot softer. It doesn't hit its max volume immediately. Like a gong, you have to warm it up a little bit first. You can't just go in and try to get the max volume out of it. So let me start off by demonstrating this by using just some strikes. I'm just going to start off by hitting this crash here, softly at first, progressively harder. And I'll show you this on two of the crashes and on the China as well. And you'll be able to hear that over time the sound starts to kind of build up. So now that you've seen how the cymbal mallets and the crash interacts with each other and how the sound builds over time, we can get into cymbal rolls. And again, it's a cymbal roll here. It's just going to be a series of strikes. So we have to keep this in mind, this building of sound as we're doing this. So there's really four pieces that you have to keep in mind while you're doing this. The first is grip. For me, a lot of times I'll play thumbs up on the drum, especially when I'm using sticks. But on cymbal rolls, when I'm using mallets, I actually like to do thumbs in. The second thing is when you start to do the roll, don't go crazy at first. You need to keep the amount that you're striking at the same. You don't want to be hitting it that high at first. You don't want to be hitting it that hard at first. Keep it low, keep it even. And wait a little bit until you can hear that the cymbal has increased in volume. Once it's gone to bring the volume up a little bit, then you can move on to the third thing, which is then you can start to increase the height at which you're striking the cymbal. Again, you don't want to go too crazy. You have to do this gradually. And one problem that can arise here is that as you start to hit it harder, the cymbal might start to kind of get away from you, it might start to go down. You want to try to make sure that you're keeping the cymbal relatively the same position as your strikes are getting harder. The fourth thing, and this is really as you start to get really high up, this will help you keep control over the cymbal a little bit, is that you don't want to keep the position of the mallets at the same point the whole time. So this is fine, this initial position is fine when you're down low, but as you start to get up, like I said, it's going to try to move away from you. So what you want to do is start to hit it in two different positions, and then I'll kind of teeter it back and forth a little bit. So what I like to do is if I'm in, let's say like an inch on the cymbal, as I'm striking it more, I start to move out along the grain of the cymbal. So I'll start to move out like this, or maybe I'll keep one hand as a primary position right in front of me and I'll move the other hand out. So let me give you a quick demonstration on how this would look and sound on a couple of these cymbals. So the last thing to discuss is controlling the decay or the cutting of the sound from the cymbals. If you were using sticks, a lot of times when you're hitting a crash, you're just hitting it and you're moving on. You're just letting it decay naturally. And of course you can do the same thing when you're using mallets to do a cymbal roll. Or you might, if you reach the end of a part, and you hit the crash, you can place your hand on the side and, you know, let the volume die down naturally a little bit. And you can do the same thing with cymbals when you're doing a cymbal roll as well, right? You know, you can do the roll and then, you know, just let it kind of die down a little bit, control it a little bit. But let's say you want to cut the sound immediately and completely. If you were using sticks, you would just hit the crash, and your other hand, you would just grab it and let it die, right? You just cut it completely. But it's a lot easier to do that with sticks because you only need one hand to hit the crash, right? So you can just have the other hand there to keep cutting it. In the case of using mallets, since you have to use both, what I've seen a lot of drummers do is that they'll kind of like stand up, they'll lean over, and then when they're ready to cut it, they'll just place their whole arm on the cymbal. So I'll demonstrate that to you real quick so you can see it. So do you have any essential items in your stick bag that you just can't live without? If so, let me know in the comments below. I'm doing educational videos like these all the time, so if you want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe.